Hey there, ghouls. It's the Creepmas season, and I know this is a very hectic time of year for all of us, but I'd like to invite you to kick back, relax, pour yourself a hot cocoa, and let me read you a story. Every night from now through December 24th, I will read you a chapter from my new holiday creature feature, Christmas Creeps from the Deep. So tune in and hang out with me at 7 p.m. Eastern Time every night for a new chapter. Let's get to it, shall we? Chapter 10. Hate to say Earl told you so, but Earl told you so. The claws came down quick. They caught on Patty the Snow Queen's 3-foot-tall blinking snowball tiara and tore it clean off her head. She stood there, eyes wide, wearing a flesh-colored sock cap that looked like pantyhose on her head. "Run!" Earl screamed. Patty the Snow Queen didn't run. She didn't scream either. She stood there as if her brain couldn't believe her eyes. Apparently, nobody else's brain could either. Sheriff Ed, the mayor, and the whole town stared at the fishman in silence as it stuffed Patty's blinking tiara wig combo into its giant spiky-toothed mouth and chomped it down until all the lights fizzled out. The peppermint steppers screamed and headed for the exit. They were the trendsetters. Everyone else followed. The crowd churned. People pushed against each other, trying to go in all directions. It was chaos. Sheriff Ed was paralyzed from shock, so Earl was able to break free. Earl grabbed Patty the Snow Queen and pulled her away from the fishman, just as its claws came down again, nearly slicing her in half. The creature wasn't trying to spear Patty, not this time. It was batting at its own face, trying to get that wig out of its mouth. It couldn't. It was stuffed in there so tight it was like the cotton in a new bottle of aspirin. Earl kicked the creature in the chest. It hit the giant Santa, and the two of them crashed to the ground. Patty the Snow Queen hopped off that stage and ran screaming faster than Earl had ever seen a beauty queen in a silver sequin bathing suit and chunky heels run. Earl grabbed the microphone out of the mayor's hand, which was easy because the mayor just stood there, lips flubbing, as the small army of iridescent white fish creatures poured into the square from all directions, attacking his voters. Earl screamed into the microphone, "Take cover! Stay in the dark! They hate the light!" The crowd sure believed Earl now. They knew he wasn't making it up, but that wasn't going to save Holiday Lake. The town square was lit up like the sun. Half the town had on blinking Christmas light necklaces and headbands, even the kids. The fishmen were going to rip them all to shreds. Earl grabbed Sheriff Ed and shook him. "We need to turn off the lights!" Sheriff Ed stared at nothing, as if he were concussed. He said, "You were right. I can't believe you were right." "Yeah, now we got to do something about it," Earl said. "Help me!" But Sheriff Ed just stood there saying, "I can't believe Earl Frost was right," over and over. So much for the long arm of the law. Earl was on his own. He went for Patty's plunger. He yanked the handle up and nothing happened, so he tried again. He pushed that dang plunger up, down, up, down, up, down until his arms hurt, and it didn't do squat. The lights didn't even flicker. "Damn it, why isn't it working?" "It isn't attached to anything." The mayor grabbed Earl's arm. "It's all for show." "Then how do we turn off the lights?" Earl said. The mayor pointed to a bundle of cables running down and across the ground. Earl immediately jumped off the stage. He barely missed that first fishman. It was lying on its back like a stranded turtle, still clawing that cotton ball wig in its mouth. The situation wasn't better on the ground. People screamed and ran in all directions. Fishmen lumbered after them, swatting and hissing at everyone and everything bright. The creatures tore down light strings and ripped can lights out of the shrubbery, all to the cheerful tune of jingle bells blasting from the mayor's new speakers. Earl followed the big bundle of cables, dodging people and fishmen with singular focus, until he heard Darlene shriek, "Get away from my kids!" Darlene Stump stood between her kids and an angry fishman who was locked in on the blinking plastic snowflake necklaces around their little necks. The creature hissed at her, claws slashing the air. The kids held onto each other and screamed, "Run! Run!" Earl shooed the kids off, but they didn't go. It's like their little snow boots were glued to the sidewalk in terror. "Leave us alone!" Darlene yelled at the fishman as she threw air punches. The giant fish was undeterred. It lunged and brought a claw down on her arm, slashing her sleeve open. White puffs of insulated stuffing fell out. The fish moved in, and Earl's heart kicked up. He wasn't going to let fish monsters destroy another family like they did his. Not today, not ever. Instinct took over. Earl ripped a giant decorative candy cane off its rebar stake, and he hooked it into the fish's mouth and yanked hard. It stumbled, but didn't fall. It righted itself and went for the kids. Damn it! Earl flipped the candy cane, then pushed the straight end so deep into that fish man's mouth it gucked, then stumbled into a bush. Then he ripped the blinking necklaces off the kids' necks, stepped between them and the fish man, and said, "Get him out of here, Darlene." "I owe you one, Earl." Darlene scooped them up and ran. Earl turned back to the big bundle of cables. A giant webbed monster foot stood on them. A fishman came at Earl with its arms out, like a monster in an old movie. Earl had a blinking necklace in each hand. They were like big neon signs with arrows pointing at him, saying, "Kill me, I'm here." Earl looked at the necklaces, then at the creature coming right for him, and ploop! Earl dropped the necklaces around its big, ugly head. They hung across the creature's big blind eyes, like garland across a fireplace mantle. The thing forgot all about Earl. It squealed in agony and swatted at its own face, trying to get the lights off. It couldn't, because stumpy arms. It whirled around and around, hissing until claws came down. Another fishman attacked it, not realizing the lights were attached to its friend. The two of them hissed and clicked at each other, angry tentacles writhing. Earl turned back to the cables but didn't get far because a fishman had old Mr. Hanson cornered. It was going after the blinking Christmas tree on his sweater. The old guy had his hands up, shielding himself, but his old skinny arms weren't much defense. Earl couldn't let old Mr. Hanson die. He owned the dairy aisle down on Maple Street. The kids loved that place. It was a Holiday Lake institution. So Earl kicked the fishman square in its fat behind. It hit the sidewalk face first, a foot from Mr. Old Hanson's orthotic shoes. "Stupid wife made me wear this ugly sweater. I always hated this thing." Mr. Hanson pulled the sweater off and threw it into a bush. "I'm sorry I doubted you, Earl." Old Mr. Hanson hobbled off looking for cover. Earl turned back to the cables. They led to a black tent in the alley next to Al's. He made a run for it. He dodged angry fishmen and screaming running townspeople, but he made it. When he stepped in, the tent was pitch black, apart from hundreds of tiny yellow and red lights, a control board. "Hello? Is anyone here?" No answer. So Earl went for the board, but his foot snagged on something big and he hit the floor. Ow. He sat up to see what got him. In the soft glow of the blinking lights, Earl saw the light tech lying face down on the floor. The top of his head was dark and wet. Blood. Earl touched his shoulder. "You okay, man?" "I can tell you right now, he is 100% not okay." The hair on the back of Earl's neck stood up. He knew that voice. It was Bucky. All right, ghouls, come back tomorrow night for Chapter 11.